When we talk about moving to the cloud, it can sound like a single event, like a company flips a switch and suddenly everything is running on AWS. In reality, cloud migration is almost always a gradual process. Companies move to the cloud in stages and they make trade-offs. They often run old and new systems side by side for a long time. Understanding this makes cloud migration much easier to grasp and much easier to answer questions about in the exam. Welcome to Learn Data Easy, the series where we break down cloud, data, and AI concepts without jargon and without stress. I'm Charlene, and I work in data and AI, and my goal here is to help you understand how AWS works underneath in a way that's practical, realistic, and easy to follow. In this episode, we're talking about cloud migration, how companies move to the cloud, and the different deployment methods they use along the way. Here's the most important idea for this episode. Cloud migration is the process of moving applications, data, or systems from on-premises environments to the cloud in a way that fits the business. There is no single correct migration path. Different organizations migrate at different speeds using different strategies. Before cloud computing, most companies ran their systems on-premises. This means that servers were physically owned by the company. Hardware lived in offices or data centers, and teams were responsible for maintenance, upgrades, and failures. On-premises environments require large upfront costs, ongoing maintenance, and long planning cycles. For the exam, remember that on-premises means that company-owned infrastructure. Now, migrating to the cloud means moving the workloads from on-premises infrastructure into cloud services like AWS. Instead of buying servers, company rents compute, storage, and networking as needed. This allows systems to scale quickly, reduce upfront costs, and rely on AWS-managed infrastructure. Migration does not always mean rewriting everything. Often, systems are moved first, then improved over time. Companies migrate to AWS for several common reasons. They want to lower upfront costs, faster deployment and innovation, improved scalability, better reliability and availability, and access to managed services. For the exam, remember that cost savings, agility, and scalability are key drivers of cloud migration. AWS describes several migration strategies. You don't need technical detail, just the concepts. So these strategies describe how much change is made during migration. The first strategy is rehost, often called lift and shift. So rehosting means moving applications to AWS with little or no change. The application behaves the same way, it just runs on cloud infrastructure instead of physical servers. A simple way to remember this is rehost means move it as it is. This approach is fast and low effort, but doesn't fully take advantage of cloud features. The next strategy is replatform. Replatforming means making small changes to improve how an application runs in the cloud. For example, moving a database to a managed AWS service while keeping the rest of the application the same. A simple way to remember this is replatform means small improvements, same core application. This is a very common migration approach. The third strategy is refactor. Refactoring means redesigning or rebuilding applications to fully use cloud-native services. This can improve scalability, reliability, and cost efficiency, but it does require more time and effort. A simple way to remember this is that refactor means rebuild for the cloud. For the exam, remember that refactoring gives the biggest long-term benefits, but takes the most work. Now let's talk about deployment models. This is one of the most commonly tested areas. So deployment models describe where systems run. In a cloud deployment model, systems run entirely in the cloud. This model offers maximum scalability, minimal hardware management, and the full use of the managed services. A simple way to remember this is that cloud deployment means everything runs in cloud. In an on-premises deployment method, systems run entirely on company-owned infrastructure. This model provides full control, higher responsibility, and higher upfront costs. For the exam, remember that this is the traditional approach. In a hybrid deployment model, systems run partly on-premises and partly in the cloud. This is common when companies migrate gradually, regulatory requirements exist, and when legacy systems can't move immediately. A simple way to remember this is that hybrid equals part cloud, part on-premises. For the exam, remember that hybrid deployment is common during migration. Most organizations don't migrate everything at once. Hybrid models allow businesses to modernize gradually while keeping the critical legacy systems running. Data and AI workloads often move to the cloud in stages. Raw data may move to the cloud storage first. Analytics and machine learning workflows may follow later. Hybrid models allow teams to experiment, scale, and modernize without disrupting existing systems. You may see questions like, a cloud wants to migrate quickly with minimal changes. Which strategy should it use? Or a company runs systems both on-premises and in AWS. Which deployment method is this? If you recognize the keywords, these questions are straightforward. So let's recap the key ideas. Cloud migration is the process of moving systems to the cloud. Common strategies include rehost, replatform, and refactor. Deployment methods include cloud, on-premises, and hybrid. If you can explain these ideas in simple terms, you're well prepared for migration questions on the exam. In the next episode, we'll move on to analytics, AI, and machine learning services at a high level, so you can recognize which AWS services fit which use cases. If this has helped, subscribe, and let's keep learning cloud the easy way. See you next time.